Ta-da!
I was at BJ's.
What?
I was at BJ's last week,
Yeah.
and the guy who accosts you and says, "How's your electric bill?" Because he's trying to sell.
Oh, because he's.
Well, I had on one of the. I had drinks, and we got this whole conversation, and he was just glowing, talking about doing qigong, and saying how he does it for like 2 hours a day.
Oh
and
my
it
goodness.
just enhances his life so much, and it was just okay.
Interesting.
Nice connection.
Nice
All out of a
connection.
different kind of energy.
All out of a different kind of energy, but
That's great.
Good. Well,
Another way to go off the grid.
Chang's
yes.
Go on. What did you say?
It's another way to go off the grid.
That's right. Warm yourself up, baby.
I like it. I like it. Okay. Well, the tincture likes your energy a lot today. So, questions about lengthening?
I mean, because I wasn't here. I didn't have the benefit of a. I'm not sure if a recording would have helped. I guess I never recall talking about this within tubes. And I was kind of like, whoa, how do I think about this, you know? And it's kind of easy to think about if you're talking about a leg or an arm, and now we're talking about a back, and I'm like, okay. Still trying to wrap my head around
So,
these concepts. Kind of knowing that I've been doing lengthening for a while, obviously, so that's, that's not new, but this is a new twist, as we say.
well, it really is in a number of ways. For one thing, there are stages of development with this, and the if you will, the tube concept is the more advanced one, and one that you don't necessarily have to jump to, because initially lengthening works in terms of yin and yang surfaces, and not only the skin, but through several layers down to the bone. So until you clearly have an awareness of the yin and yang flows on those surfaces of the body, you don't really try to go to the what Bruce called the tube concept, in which you let go of yin and yang in terms of sides of the body, and are simply thinking of everything flowing. In other words, the yin is flowing everywhere, and the yang is flowing everywhere, and it's pretty hard to do that until you're really clear about the separation of the yin and yang.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, it does a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
one of the times I was following this week, I was focusing on the spine. Just
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity for lengthening in the spine, and all those
Yes.
all those facets could easily be.
Well, and that's the whole purpose.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Starting all the way back from the Taoist spine stretch.
Yes, I was going to say, yeah.
That's what we've been. One of the things we've been trying to do is feel and be able to lengthen the spine in that concept of both the anterior and posterior sides of those very, very small openings, so that you really lengthen the entire space. It's very easy to open one and close it when you open the other.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
difficulty is opening one and keeping it open as you open the second,
Right.
the other side. So yeah,
Yeah.
the spine is very important, and ultimately is one of the ways of guiding everything in the body. Can be done from the spine. Other questions or thoughts, gentlemen?
We silenced them.
Yes. I'm gathering you have no questions.
I have no questions that can be expressed.
That can be expressed.
Ah. You have any questions you can demonstrate?
Mumble through.
Hmm.
Well,
Ah! Boom.
okay. Well, I'm going to talk a little more
Okay,
about
fill her up.
So one of the things, of course, is you're trying to get a sense of this spring action in your lengthening, because that's really a very central issue. You could just keep on waving your arms about, but try and understand something. When you're practicing this, at least for the first few days until your body adjusts, you'll start getting really tired of doing this, because this is more tiring than on your body than just waving your arms about, because you're actually engaging your entire arms from your spine. So then you want to just do as many as you can with it being proper, and if you have to, just wave your arms like a windmill for the rest, but keep doing the movements. Do the 20. That would be my recommendation for your practice. Now, if you know how to do Taoist longevity breathing, this becomes actually fairly easy. If you know how to do reverse breathing, this becomes incredibly obvious. But as you're making your hands come up, so in other words, in that movement where you're coming up here, you have obviously the lengthening in and then the lengthening out. And this is the starting point. It's really very simple. Half of your movement ideally is lengthening in, and half of it is lengthening out. The sense of lengthening from inside of you out and lengthening in. But then we also come to the issue of how much puff or how much lengthening have you got? Which does not say that all the time 50% of your movement is going to be lengthening out or lengthening in, because maybe you just have a lot more lengthening out inside of you today than you have lengthening in. But what you want to do is find some way that half of your movement is lengthening in and half of it is lengthening out. And some of this is going to be determined not only by what your arms can do, it's going to be where along your spine that you feel something, something that glitches. Do you understand? It's not necessarily that you're not going to have your movements just 50%, 50%, because that's some sort of natural resistance. Some of it can just be because there's something going on with your spine. And then it can be that you do 4 movements and this thing in your spine doesn't start to release at all. But it starts on the 5th. Or you can't do it for the first 14 and then on the 15th it begins to release. So you have to flow with this. What does it mean? So you come down, so your hands are going in to make the circle in. And so you as you do that, so really you're thinking about this circle. It's coming in and then it's going out. And you're looking for that circular movement, and where are the changeover places? And you have to feel those. And so it may not be that your movement is divided equally 50%, 50%. It's the timing of it. So in other words, the whole concept is that this, which is not half of the whole physical movement, but it is half of the energetic movement. So that it becomes it becomes a little more difficult when you begin to think about it in that way. So you primarily want to have your hands cross each other in front of the dantian. And then the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to be rising up the center. And this is probably going to be an opening move. And in the best of all worlds, you're going to finish this opening move
I am.
with your hands out to the sides, spread out to the sides. Now I said under ideal circumstances, which, as we all know, doesn't happen a whole lot. So now that's going to become a question of when do you run out of puff? So you really have to feel about your lengthening. You have to be very clear about it, so that when you actually are lengthening in, you feel that you have done 50% of that lengthening in, and now you're doing the other 50% lengthening out. And it's not a muscular movement. It's an energetic movement. And the bending of the spine has to be a part of that, of course. And the arms are bending along at the same time. So you're opening and closing and trying not to run out of either one. So you want to try and get this even, and the easiest way of doing it is that it's not exactly, you do it to the point, in air, that you do it to a point in air. If you can, one scenario is this. This is, so the crossing of the hands is the end of half of the cycle. Somewhere around that point, the dantian. But then you start opening. But if you start opening at the dantian, you haven't finished your opening until your hands go out. So you're still going to finish as it's going down. And then you start closing, and you're closing up, and then you're closing, and then opening, and then you go down again. But what I'm trying to explain to you is this. It could be that this becomes could this be done with being completely closed at the dantian, and then you're opening up as your arms go out, and then you want to close down to the dantian? Sure, it can. The point is that one half of the movement is bending and closing, and one half of the movement is opening, and that's the main point. Now understand, as you going through different times in your life, you have accidents, you have something happening inside you, in your internal organs, or you've had a super amount of stress. Exactly when the opening and closing points can change, that can cause the opening and closing points to change because you're running out of puff. Your body is naturally going to feel that it wants to close, and maybe it feels like it naturally wants to open. So go with that. That's fine, as long as half and half. So that is the essential issue, not exactly where you do it. Bruce was saying that when he learned to do this, he learned over 200 different ways it could be done to produce different effects, different changes over points, different changeover points produce different results. So what I'm saying is that in the beginning, don't get fixed that your hands have to exactly close and open at the same points. What is determining this is a very simple principle. When you begin, where is your body locked up, and what will allow you to unlock it? Now, if you start getting through the layers of why people get locked up, you'd be surprised how many layers there are. And it also is not that it's not the same necessarily every day, yet you go through this layer, and that's locking up your insides, and gets what? There's going to be another layer that's locking up your insides, but that may necessitate that you do the movement slightly differently. So you're now beginning to learn to do something that is really artful. You're learning to trust what your body is telling you it needs. Do you understand? Not that someone says it must be done this way, blah, blah, blah. All Qigong was originally done that way. But I'm just trying to say that this ability to recognize what the qi in your body is telling you that it needs is not a small thing. It's a big thing. People in this world currently, in this time, don't trust themselves about their about 3/4 of the time. We're living in an age of doubt right now. You could almost say that half of what's going on, didn't get that one. You could almost not trust half of what's going on, and you often don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But you can trust what's inside of you. In the Indian traditions, for example, the phrase they like to use that's covering essentially this same point, but from an Indian culture, is that you have to trust your inner guru telling you what you need at a certain time. Well, I think if you can learn how to trust what your body energy is telling you to do, you will start finding out. You'll start having as much better cooperative relationship between your mind and your body. Because usually what happens is the body is telling you to do one thing and your mind is telling you to do another. And these things get really tricky. Now you're trying to figure out which one is more important. And the truth is, it's really nuts.
Oh, great.
But there is an innate intelligence inside you. And so all I'm trying to show you is that is about where you change. Part of the process of this is also why God's is a bridge between Qigong and meditation, because the ability for you to learn to trust what is inside you is a fundamental element of meditation. But there is something inside you, an intelligence inside, that will tell you what to tell you what way to go, regardless of whether you understand what it's when it's happening. And to develop that ability is a really good thing. Anyway, do you understand this now? Maybe. It's not an exact place where you turn your hands over. You'll play around with it. You'll be doing it for 20 times. But you want to try and find your own better way. And this is part of the whole thing of the old famous Chinese phrase, you give someone a fish and you feed them for a day, teach them how to fish, and you feed them for life. It tells you what to do. I tell you what to do. It helps you for a few minutes. I get you to trust what your insides are telling you, and you now have something that could carry you through your entire life. So, I would like you to do a flow and see if you can begin to tap into this, to feel what your body is saying, and to let your body tell you where the changes are. Because in movement too, I'll just say, probably most of the time the change in the lower point is at the dantian. But the upper change, not necessarily. It isn't always here.
Mm-hmm.
It can be here or here. It could be anywhere. And so you have to feel where that is. And be recognizing at the same time not only what your body's telling you, but what is in the way. Where do you have a glitch? Where do you need to dissolve that and release it so that you can do the movement the way your body is telling you to do it? The energy of your body is telling you to do it. Questions before you do that?
You want 20 of each.
Yeah.
I was a little unclear when you began about the windmill thing. It's like, we're going to get tired. Yes, and
Yeah.
sometimes we do anyway.
Well,
Well, you're doing it the right way or the wrong way.
so what I'm saying is you do as many, being really clear about the changeover points, the lengthening in and out, the flow of the energy, all the things that
Yeah.
are part of the movement. And if there comes a point where that becomes difficult in that movement, then let go of all the trying.
Okay, just
And
keep
s-
doing the
and
form.
just
Okay.
keep doing the
That
movement.
works for one,
Yeah. And
5,
then
6.
and then when you get
Yeah.
to the next movement,
3, 4.
you would try again
Start. Okay.
to
Yeah.
start over. And if you can only do one or two really focused, then do the other 18 mindlessly. Just let it go. Because we are asking you to do a lot at this moment. Either Bill have a question?
Yeah, I have a question way back at the introductory part of what you said. Um, I'm having trouble with the notion that there can be a big variation from day to day of the lengthening in and lengthening out potency. Um, I don't quite understand that. Yeah.
Well, it's like everything that we do. Every day is different, and the movement is different every day, and you have a different amount of puff every day, and you haven't fallen down on your knee one day.
You had to bring that up, huh?
Oops.
I say that because Bill did that.
Okay.
Everything we do and experience affects how we do this.
that I understand. It was the concept of having, I guess it's the concept of puff. Um, and I'm thinking, okay, if I'm lengthening in, now I am lengthening out. Can there be much of a variation in that from day to day?
Sure. Maybe you know it can be related to the physical movement. So maybe one day, your lengthening in is here, and your lengthening out is here. But the next day, you're feeling really great, and all of a sudden, that's the movement because that's what you can feel. So you're trying to really be aware of what is appropriate for the condition of the energy in your body on that specific day. So
Oh,
one of in addition to the fact that you're saying, well, maybe you finish lengthening in here and you start lengthening out, and that finishes here because it doesn't have to be here. It's wherever that lengthening ends on that day. And so you have to feel really feel the lengthening in and out, and feel it not simply as a physical movement, but as a physical and energetic movement.
Mhm.
Does that answer your
yes,
question?
I think so. Maybe I'm having a little trouble with the word puff. Uh,
So that's
keep thinking of magic dragons. Uh,
This is the
so
generation.
you have to blame Bruce Francis for that. That's his term, and
yeah.
I simply go
In
with it.
any case, humor aside, the puff is essentially the feeling of the energy moving.
Yes, and as well as the condition of your body that day.
Well, yes, okay.
Would oomph be better?
Yeah,
Oh, that's a
I
good.
like that.
That's a good one.
Oomph.
Yeah.
Carol suggests oomph instead of
Yeah.
puff.
Well, yeah,
Where's your oomph?
okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know it.
Anything for you, Mr. Bynum?
Yeah, I kind of the transition points I get, but the energy as we're say lengthening out and then transitioning to lengthening in, um, and the transition point, or when we're lengthening out, we get to sort of the maximum out, and then we start lengthening in. Is the rate that we're doing that constant from the transition point? Is there an acceleration or deceleration, or is that part of the 200 different ways of doing it? And um,
Probably. I don't know those 200 ways, so I can't really answer that. um,
I
so
mean, the thing with the physical movement is we're all, I'm sure, trying to make it gradual so that we don't finish lengthening out and then we still have hands to move out to their sides or something. So the energetic movement, I'm thinking of that same kind of thing where you don't want to spend it all and then you still have a ways to go physically. Um, but how do you govern that? How is there a rate? Do you start out slowly and then get to the max and to the 70% and then transition back in? I know we want to round the corners physically and energetically.
I, th- Well, you stop thinking too much. And you feel what your body tells you you can and should be doing.
So, along what he's saying, so if you do find that you feel like you've gone out as far as you can,
Yeah.
don't push your arms out more.
Right. Don't push your arms
Just
out.
bring them back in.
Bring them back in.
Yeah. So it could be, I mean, just to be really ridiculous, maybe you really injured yourself severely. And so maybe lengthening in is here and lengthening out is here. It's what your body can do and what your body and energy tell you is the right thing for you to be doing. And if it's being limited by an energetic blockage, then you try to release that blockage, which will allow you to expand the movement. I don't know if that helps, but we learn all these things, and I tell you that you should do it. Lengthen in, lengthen out, lengthen in, lengthen out. And now I'm saying, no, that's not necessarily the case. And
The difference between 2 and 5.
and as
So
I
we'll get to that.
as I said before, there is also the possibility of lengthening in and lengthening out.
Mm-hmm.
It can go the other way. It's not, I don't find that as effective energetically, but it is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So this is beginning to try to push you to really concentrate on feeling and let go of saying my hand should cross and my hand should be out, because that's really not no longer as important as feeling what's actually happening in your body. So it's not as easy. Okay? Do a flow and just do your best, and don't worry about perfection. That doesn't exist here.
No.
If you want to see yourself, Joanne,
Oh,
you're not in the recording.
I'm not in there. Okay.
You can come over here if you want more space.
I think I have more room over here between
Okay.
all of this. To be
Okay.
honest. Okay.
That's up to you.
Plenty of room in my place.
Be down in about what, 15 hours?
What?
The leg was just finishing up.
Oh, okay. So how was that? What could you feel? What did you discover?
I understand why he uses the word puff. I don't think I really totally embraced it until I felt it.
Aha.
So that was kind of interesting. And I did notice that when you're not paying attention to exactly, oh, where is it? Where do you turn your hands now?
Mhm.
that I could feel the energy
Oh.
more, right? That I was letting that lead.
Good.
I think yeah, 3 is still a little a puzzle. But
Uh-huh.
I got tired too though, because last week I had some bad muscle fatigue, so I began to feel it in my legs, but I made it
Yeah.
through.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think 4 and 6 were, I think, really great for feeling that and
Mhm.
doing the extension. And maybe it's because they're, I don't know, those are ones that I feel the most comfortable with on all aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and 3 is difficult, particularly going 6 and 9, and I just create a lot of tension that I can't release at those points. And I'm not exactly sure why, because sometimes it'll kick in, and um, yeah. So, but I think that doing the 4-6 makes the 3 or the 2 5 2-5 is good, but yeah, it's very interesting to explore. So I look forward to practicing more this week.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. You know, I might say about 3 that one of the important things there in terms of not overdoing is not trying to rotate too far to the side
Mm.
because everybody's different. I mean, how how flexible are your hips?
Mhm.
How much rotation do you have at your quad? Um, um, Bruce is crazy. He's almost got 90 degrees. You can't believe that that's possible. Um, I don't know about you, but I cannot do 90 degrees. I'm on a good day. I might approach 45, but don't. So make sure you're not rotating too far. That may help the that difficulty in 3.
Mm. Mhm.
Anything for you, Mr. Nagel?
Yes, it was interesting and challenging. I'm used to um, having intentionality being the driver
Mm.
um, of the in and out, the lengthening in and out, and the energy flow. So this waiting to see what the energy was doing on its own was a different experience and um, took a while to notice what that was and then coordinate the physical movement with it, which is the way I went. I'm not even sure that's the right way to go, but
No, that was
uh,
good.
um, I think I began to feel comfortable with the coordination somewhere in three, and then four and five felt quite comfortable with for me, and then six, seven, I felt a lot of energy pooling in my arms. That's the best word I can. But not necessarily moving a whole lot. So I didn't, that was a strange experience.
Hmm.
At any rate,
Good.
uh, to be pursued.
Okay, okay, good. Anything for you, Carol?
Well, two was mostly a tickle in my throat that wouldn't go away, and then ending with the paroxysm of coughing, which and blowing my nose and realized I've been breathing through my mouth. So
Drying. Yeah.
because my nose was plugged, so
Oh,
got it enough so that I can breathe through my nose through the rest of it, so that didn't interfere. A three was, it felt very circular,
yeah.
and because it's such a long in and then just a really short out. I mean, that's when the puff
Just,
is, and that it felt really nice.
Good.
Yeah, four, five, and six felt zippy.
Good.
Yeah, but six, the in went down lower than I expected. Toward the end of it, it was like
6. Oh.
you know the
Yeah.
you're in, and then expected to be
Yeah.
out here. Well, no, it wasn't. It was yeah. Okay, just go with that.
Yeah. Good.
And seven, it's hard not to put the intentionality in there
Yeah.
because
Yep.
Let's start on 7.
what's going on there? Yeah. It's
So-
hard to. Okay, I'm exhaling. So anyway, that's
Work on that one.
yeah.
So as you practice this week, try to let yourself feel.
Yeah.
And I will say the one thing that I saw happening a lot in terms of the physical movement was that the bending of the body was getting stuck. So the bending of the body has to keep constantly moving, as well as the arms and legs. I mean, and the body will move if your legs are moving. But so what I'm saying is that I saw two different things happening. I'll do 4. I saw coming down and the body stopping and the arms continuing, and then the body coming up, stopping, and the arms continuing. And that's not what we want to do, because you have immediately interrupted to some degree the flow of the energy. So being aware that to coordinate the movement of the body and the arms and legs all together. just a physical thing
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
aware
it's a
of.
challenge sometimes. Yeah, I notice that.
I will say, it seemed to me that the movement of 3 for all of you was the smoothest I've seen. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, practice, practice,
Oof.
practice.
Ooh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, David.
See you next week.
Yep. Have a good week, everyone.
Thanks,
Yep.
you too.
You
Thank
too.
you.
How are we doing here?
So what'd you do to yourself last week?
Oh, God. Well, I did tell Carol, I think part of it was actually, maybe even some of the earlier back thing, they're still really struggling with the best blood pressure medicine for me.
Oh.
And so every 2 weeks for the last 2 months I've been going in, and then last week, so 2 weeks ago, yesterday, they gave me a new pill, and I just think I had enormous amounts of side effects on it. I had these sores in my mouth, and I was exhausted, and then I was in New York, which is why I wasn't here, and then walking from my friends to the subway, which I've done a million times, my muscle fatigue was so intense. I had to stop repeatedly just to.
Wow.
Oh, I've never had that kind of experience before. I mean, I've had Lyme disease. That's a whole different kind of tired. But this is like
Yeah.
literally my muscles hurting after like a third of a block. Like, that's not me, you know? And so it was, that was like, okay, we're not taking this pill anymore. So I went for a week, but it took a while to kind of feel like I could clean it out, and the healing began, and the muscles got, kind of
Yeah.
back. It was very bizarre. And now they gave me a new one yesterday, and I'm like, I have a big community land trust meeting today and a dentist appointment and some work tomorrow. I'll start it tomorrow night. Because now I'm afraid of more side of, you read them all, they all are like, you could die, but here's some few other things.
I know, yeah.
Okay, yay. Not many people get these, but, and you're like, I think I'm one of them now. And my ankles have been huge. I mean, they're not as bad today, but they're still, look at that. They're still very swollen. So they just can't, they can't get the swelling and the side effects down and the blood pressure down.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh, I was doing great for 2 years. They kind of took a few months to get on the right meds, and then it was fine. And now it's like,
Yeah.
so that's it. Yeah, but the muscle fatigue was just awful.
That's terrible.
And you're on the road, right? So it wasn't
Yeah.
like I was even home, right? I was like, oh my God. And I was doing a lot more walking, but maybe that exacerbated it. But just one day. Anyway, that's, yeah. So I'm just kind of getting back to feeling like myself in the last few days.
Yeah.
But I'm still overwhelmed. So that doesn't go away. Or the demonstration on Saturday, or, Yeah, July will be easier, a little bit easier, because big things are happening this month, and then they're like, check, done. But today's one of those days. I also gonna have to leave here by about 10:30 because I need to get things done by noon. I don't know how I'm gonna get them done because I usually don't get home till about 11:15.
Well, so we don't have very much
We
time.
don't have much time.
Because we spent time on the other. So,
Well, and that's fine. Yeah.
so the third paragraph, since we have such short time, anything that's come up?
I've been working a little on it. I did not practice a whole lot this week. I did a little at the beginning before I went away, before all the
Yeah.
stuff. I think it would be good for me to see, is it Maiden? Yeah, I feel like I've got that, but I don't have it. I feel like as I go, because we didn't even do that the last time I was here,
Yeah.
right? So I just kind of feel like, I'm kind of got here, but how did I, like, there's something wrong. And my notes are not that nuanced
Yeah.
to let me know what's wrong. So let's see where we can go with that.
Okay.
And then I can practice it this week. Because I do want to keep moving forward.
So, we're in single whip,
Yeah.
and now you got to get to that corner.
Right.
So you're going to turn on the left heel
Mm-hmm.
and the right heel, and rotate onto it and step to the corner, and then into Fair Lady. Follow and focus. Boom. And then step around. You have to go clear around, however you're doing it at the moment. And you step, the right hand goes up, left strikes to the face, follow and focus, and then turn on the left toe, turn that foot straight, rotate back onto the right, and step to the corner, and up. Deflect left, strike with the right foot, and then follow and focus. And then step around. This is like the front corners. Boom, boom. Follow and focus.
Yep, that was helpful. It's coming back. Like bike riding.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was helpful.
Okay. Any question in there?
I don't think so. I think it's getting back to remembering, the turning of the feet.
Yeah.
But
I think one of the things about coming around, even if, for instance, I have to take an extra move in here now.
get around.
So I step back with the right, turn on the left heel, and rotate onto it and step with the right, and that now allows me to go into the corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then let's do one more follow up with this then.
Okay.
The
So follow,
focus.
in, focus on. Yeah.
And then no, with your feet going into the back corner.
Oh, okay. So you have to turn, and so both feet are going to turn. So you turn on the left toe, the right heel, and
Then
now you've
go
got
on
that
to the
right
right.
foot in position.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then into the right, and then boom, boom. Yeah.
And the right always goes up first.
No,
When
the
we go
left
into
just
the
went-
corner. The left.
Here the left went up, and this corner the right went up.
Okay,
It's a
because of the-
same
the
as the
foot.
forward foot.
Okay. The foot. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I didn't. I have to say I didn't practice beyond that, but I think
Well, that's fine.
the next ones are getting into some.
Well, we
repeats.
get into a
We're getting into stuff I know
Yep.
quite easily.
right,
Yeah.
right,
It's not until you get a little later on that it's like
right.
back to some new stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I want to kind of move on the
Good,
third paragraph, so I feel like I've kind of got the whole back again.
good, good. Anything for you, Carol?
I've just been focusing on wave hands to get it
Yep.
There's still, if I'm not really paying attention, I still put a compression in the middle.
Oh,
of
me
it.
too.
I did that forever.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
and for a little while I was now which hand is on the top over here?
Yeah.
You know, it's
So, you still have a compression. It's just that it's not this.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just it's compressed and then
As
it's
you-
out.
Yeah.
and it's compressed.
Right, but we, yeah,
And it's out.
right, and this is bigger, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Good. Great. All right. Thank you, lady.
Thank you, and I owe you money for meditation.
Yes. Thank you.
Brought this, I need a pen.
Oh, we've got a pen.
You got a pen, that part you'll give me, huh? Remind me how much it is?
180.
The 180, right, okay, I have a new book here, so I can't cheat, go back.
Yes. I'm familiar with that.